So next up we have Manish Patel. Manish is CEO of Where to Get It. They've been in the local space probably longer than anyone. And it's interesting. They're really kind of, an evolving suite of products. And it's all about location, really using, especially for complex location for national chains. It's a big kind of challenge, and really optimizing that for management and marketing and all kinds of things. So I'm going to let Manish present for about 10 minutes, and then we'll get into a discussion. So go for it.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
But let's unpack some of that a little bit. So you mentioned that there are a lot of challenges in dealing with different national advertisers. They're very siloed in their way of thinking, the guy that handles the SEO and this and that. And I think also that a lot of national advertisers are very brand-centric. So when we're talking about some of these, I guess, decidedly more performance-based things, you don't really have their attention as much. But one thing that strikes me as a way to kind of, I guess, start speaking their language or getting their attention is something we spoke about earlier, which is that if your listings are wrong, or your phone number is wrong, or just something along those lines, it actually harms their brand. It tarnishes their brand. If you're on Yelp, that's not necessarily a ding against Yelp, but the consumer will perceive that as something that they'll remember as being a flaw in that actual business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the brand, the message that we are talking about all the time is your image is at stake here.
Yeah.
When I find a wrong location, I find some information that's incorrect, incomplete, whatever it may be,
yep.
I'm not, or the consumer in that case is really going to blame the brand. They're not going to blame Yelp or Google or Facebook for the incorrect information. I mean, Facebook has a tool where you can add a location, and you can you create duplicate locations, and then people end up liking that. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really help the brand if they don't pay attention.
Now, how much is that amplified in mobile? You showed the mobile slide in terms of usage. We've been seeing lots of stats along those lines. It seems like the immediacy of the mobile user amplifies that entire situation, where they're more prone to be impatient. And if they get the wrong listing or the wrong phone number, they're more quickly going to move on, perhaps even to one of your competitors. So I think the onus is even greater to make sure that data is correct when you're talking about more mobile access as opposed to desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking for an immediate result. You're looking to buy at that very moment, and if that information is not there, you have to ask yourself, what is the brand loyalty?
Sure.
I mean, if it's one ice cream A, ice cream B, if ice cream A doesn't show up, you're wanting ice cream. You're gonna go for what does show up and what's near you at that moment.
So I think there are a lot of takeaways in terms of lessons for brands themselves. Make sure your data is correct, but also for the folks in this room that in different ways may be addressing these national advertisers with local marketing products. What's the takeaway there in terms of where are the opportunities to kind of come in and help them do so? What's missing right now? Where are the market opportunities?
Well, I think first and foremost is that you've heard all these years when we're talking SMBs is you've heard simplicity, make it simple for the SMB. We all think that the national brands have all these big budgets and big marketing departments and so forth. And that's true. I mean, Michael's, for example, went from 2 people a few years ago to 24 people. They're a Dallas-based arts and craft retailer. So their digital marketing departments are growing and the budgets are there. But that's for content, for creative, for execution, things of that nature, running campaigns. Yeah. But they still would like simplicity. They want to know, they want to know fixed cost. I think that's a big thing for brands. They work on budgets. They don't really work on variable cost very well, unless if it's like on a cost per good basis where it's after the sale.
Yep.
But those are core messages. And of course the cycle of selling, you've got to be patient. There's a hype cycle and there's a sales cycle. The hype cycle with Foursquare was in 2010.
Yep.
And then 2 years later I'm hearing, hey, what's my Foursquare strategy or whatever? And I'm thinking, well, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But you've got to really understand the hype cycle and sales cycle within the corporate America.
It's interesting too, for years at these conferences, looking at the way that SMBs tick. And the takeaway usually is it's that same message of simplicity. And now at this conference, we're talking more about the national advertisers who presumably, by having resources and marketing departments, have the propensity for more kind of performance-based stuff or more kind of complex pricing and advertising management. But really it goes back to that same message of simplicity.
Yeah.
Even for the national guys. That's interesting. So question here via Twitter from David Mim. He's wondering if you're seeing any noticeable impact across your portfolio of clients from the recent Google Plus Local user interface update, with larger photos and things like that. You showed some screenshots of Google Plus Local, and bad example.
Bad
but,
examples.
what's the overall kind of takeaway from that update with the UI update?
From our perspective, we work with clients to make sure that all their information's proper. Like Cheesecake Factory is a great example in terms of what's on Google Plus Local and their storefront photos. Not a lot of brands have storefront photos, but if to the extent that they can give us menu, restaurant items or storefront or product images and so forth, we'll make sure that we work on that.
Mm-hmm. So I have another tweet question here from Milind Mahir. So 16x cost effective as opposed to pay-per-click. Is that based on calls, click, CPM? I don't know if I read that correctly. I'm just doing this live, excuse me. Milind, are you out there? You want to go ahead.
It was basically on the what we call like a click or a visit. So we kind of aggregated that information. Obviously, if you drill down further in terms of was the action, the phone call different from the paid campaign to the actual local campaign. We were actually just comparing the actual clicks to the paid campaign and the organic campaign, and the variance there was huge. So obviously that would then translate to actions further down the funnel.
So related to David's question about Google, I have a similar Google question. It also goes back to the point on simplicity. Google recently announced enhanced campaigns, which kind of is meant to bring greater simplicity across SEM campaigns in tablet, desktop, mobile. What do you think about that and the impact that might have for national advertisers in terms of maybe even a simpler ad buy, the ad rates, the implications there? Any thoughts there on how that affects or how it relates to what you're doing?
We're not that heavy into paid,
Mm-hmm.
but with respect to what I think what's going to happen is the mobile and the desktop cost per clicks are going to basically kind of stabilize, converge, and
absolutely. I agree.
But what we're seeing also is that when we do that, when we can compare local to these types of things, I've always asked the question: how come a click is worth 80 cents, and then what we get paid for, and when we're doing organic or local type work, it's worth a dime or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that way,